What's up, gang? Today we have Bradley Jones and Caleb Attalah from James River Kitchens. And with over 20 years of combined experience, they left the big box company that they used to work for behind and ventured out to start their own kitchen renovation company here in Richmond, Virginia, and make sure that things are done the right way. So obviously we know each other. We've known each other for some years now. I really appreciate you guys being here and being down to have this conversation. It's tough sometimes to get contractors like to do something like this, and like actually sit down and really kind of pull the curtain back and talk about behind the scenes of what it takes to run a company like the ones that you guys do. I know it's not easy, because it's like you could be in the field and working with clients and doing all that stuff, but like you're here and definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, no,
absolutely.
We appreciate you having us.
This is great. Yeah, honestly, this whole setup is awesome, by the way. It's really dope.
No, I love it, man. Absolutely. So let's kind of start from the beginning. So how did James River Kitchens come to be, and what inspired you to do your own thing and start your own kitchen renovation company?
Yeah. We were at the big box stores. We started a week apart, right? So there's like the lore of that. And, you work hard to build up someone else's business. And we put a lot of time, effort, energy into building a strong business, building relationships with people. And then over time, we were just being asked to cut corners, lie about product, treat people without respect, and it just didn't feel good anymore. So that really started the conversations of I don't think I can do this anymore. This is straining us. It's wearing us down mentally. So that started then the conversations of hey, maybe we kind of venture out, do this on our own. And there was a gap of me leaving the big box store and him staying there. And then once I left, that's really what got it going. And the main focus was we want to deliver quality products and just really treat people with respect.
Yep, that quality service was a big thing for us because we learned a lot of lessons in that environment, a lot of what to do, what not to do. But I think time after time, we just couldn't really get with the whole, the company's first and then the product is second, or the service is second, but we have to protect the company first. It just wasn't really working out, especially not in the industry that we're in.
Yeah.
And
is that how you guys became friends? Was through working at the same, and that's how you guys met for the first time?
Yeah, and it wasn't an instant friendship. It took a little time, I think, but I can really remember when that moment switched of, I think him and I was the manager at the time. He was just an employee. And I can remember the conversation man, we can really be good at this. We can, if we get on the same sheet of music, we can be, at that time, the language was the best. We can be the best in the company. And we were that. I mean, he was consistently a top salesperson. I was consistently a top manager, and I didn't even sell anything. That's how good we were. And so the friendship was, there's equity there. There's backstory there. So, we feel like we need to get a better job of we've worked really hard at collaborating on projects. You have your strengths, I have mine. And so we're getting back to that, kind of quote unquote where we started.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, in any business, right? If you have the same personalities and you're identical, that's actually how you butt heads a lot of the time. So it's great to come from a different place, be in different roles, and then decide hey, we actually work really well together. Yep. Maybe let's do our own thing. So was there a particular moment where you guys kind of combined brains and said, all right, it's time to do something together? What was that like?
You could tell them.
All right. So I think I was still at this big box company. He had left to go open up another store, actually, another company that I don't think they're around anymore, but that's how it started. We went and got lunch one day. Trace Machos, shout out Trace Machos. And it was just over a couple margaritas. We're just having a casual lunch, and it was hey, he's unhappy, I'm unhappy. And that just prompted the question, can we do it? Can we do it ourselves? And ultimately, I think after some bouncing ideas back and forth, we determined we could do it. So
Tequila.
Shout out Tequila.
It is what it is, but no, it was funny because I'd asked him before and it'd always be, oh man, maybe. But this one time I was like, hey, let's just do it. I'm already doing it for somebody else. And he was like, let's roll with it. And then, we had a rough draft of a logo within a couple of hours. So that's really, how it got started.
That's awesome. I mean, yeah, there's something to be said about like a social lubricant that it's like, maybe this is a good idea,
Yeah.
you know? It's been awesome to like see you guys flourish and actually turn it into a real thing though. Can you kind of speak on just like labor in general, right? Because I think, you know, especially as men too, like we've got a bunch of varieties of career paths that we can choose. And clearly the one that you're in isn't the easiest, you know, and you got to have like a pretty strong like mental fortitude and the ability to get up early, work hard all day long. What like pushes you to like really take this seriously and make it like your life path, basically? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I mean, I really like to what I like to think about is kind of putting focus on what you're best at, honestly. So like when it comes to like the labor, trying to do something yourself, or maybe not doing the proper research of getting somebody to do something that is, I mean, rather important. If you don't make the right decision, you're going to end up paying for it tenfold in the back end.
Yeah.
So it's, what was the question again? My fault, man.
Yeah. I mean, I just think like, you know, as we sit here, I think about like production, right? It's like, I think we all have to have a way to like produce something. And, you know, I'm not a contractor or renovator or any of that, but I do know that there's a lot of like fulfillment that comes out of like building stuff for other people.
Sure.
And building takes creativity. It takes, you know, routine. It takes rhythm and patterns and hard work and, you know, just like any other creative pursuit. But I guess I'm just curious to know, like, if you remind yourself of that often, or if you spend any time thinking about that. Like, what were some of the early challenges of being laborers and installers and just like working on kitchens and cabinets and stuff? Like, because I would imagine maybe that's the reason you moved away from that, is you're just doing the work. You're not really enjoying it, right?
Yeah.
And now you've
sure.
shifted into a place where it's like, okay, yes, it's hard work, but now I'm enjoying it, right? So like, what were some of the maybe like early challenges in the beginning of this journey?
Yeah. I think, I mean, him and I, we, our background is design. And so I think for us, just, you know, like you get 10 kitchens under your belt, and then all of a sudden it's 100, it's 150, 200. I mean, between him and I, we've produced a lot of kitchens. And I think each time you go into it, it's a learning experience, and that's how we approach it. And it is it is mentally taxing, life in general. It doesn't have to be a business owner. Everybody is mentally taxed. And so I think for us, you know, if you keep the client in the forefront, it kind of helps you like, all right, we can overcome these challenges, because there's always pinch points. Every job has pinch points. And I think for us, you can kind of, I mean, we've been bogged down with that. I mean, I would say that's where we've been the last few months of just, I mean, I can be transparent, down on ourselves, questioning everything. But through that, just as we grew a business, opened a business, now it's just time to evolve. And so I think that's probably a common theme from 9 years ago to now, is just evolution, where we're always learning, we're always trying new things. We want to be better. We want to service people better. And then inherently that's spilling over in our personal lives, you know, better husband, better boyfriend. We have babies on the way, like better fathers. So this isn't just something like we do. Like we don't do this. This is our business. This is our life. And I think for the first time, really, I think him and I are embracing that. Like this is going to be the medium that gets us to where we want to go. And while we are going along the way, we're going to take clients with us. We're going to renovate your kitchen better than anybody else can in Richmond. And so, yeah, I mean, it's been challenging, but it's worth it.
Yeah. I will say one thing that has never changed, I think for me, at least in the beginning, is the final product. Like once we're done with a project, which are you ever really done? No, but once everything is like installed and picture perfect, ready to go, that moment, like it's kind of like what keeps me going. Whether it's 3 projects in a month or we're doing 10 and it's, you know, bare bones, I'm taking the same pride every time, or feel the same way every time. So
it's one of the reasons I was looking forward to having this conversation. You know, I'm a homeowner. I'm somebody who has gone through the process of, you know, trying to source contractors, renovate a kitchen, renovate a bathroom. And as the person who owns the property, I've learned a ton through the process. But in the beginning, I didn't know anything. Right. And it's hard to find people that A, care about it, right? But B, you can trust, and then C, that like actually can do a good job. Yeah. And I think more often than not, people only get like one of those things. Yeah. You know, you find someone like, oh, I can trust this person. I can leave them at the house with the dog and whatever, and I know that everything's fine. But then you come back after the project's done, you're like, oh, this looks like shit. You know, like, you know, you never really know. So, like, what does a kitchen done right or a project done right, like, what does that mean to you, or what does that look like for you?
I think it's we oftentimes say, like, if this was our kitchen, right? And so we try to approach it that way from the initial design. Like, if I was in your space, this is how I translate it. This is, you know, what I would do. And so I think it's a lot of collaboration with the client. Like, you have to collaborate with the client. We need the client to collaborate with us, right? It goes both ways. Communication. There's always going to be issues, lead times, missing items, damaged product, right? So a kitchen done right, like, you can get into the technical side of it. We have the best installers in Richmond, where, you know, they take their time, they have pride in the work. We work with one drywaller, we work with one plumber, we work with one electrician, right? So we have a relatively small team. And so the technical side is always taken care of. It's the communication that you're going to get from us, with the follow through. I mean, we've followed up on projects 2-3 years later from when we first started, and we've gone back out to fix it. You know, there is fatigue when you do this between the client and, I mean, because it's tough renovating a kitchen. And so that's what we're really focused on, is that fatigue sets in on every project, and things can take longer, and so it really is just a matter of setting realistic expectations, communicating, being present. All the other stuff does take care of itself. So I would say that's where we separate ourselves.
Yeah. Patience is also key in projects like this, because these are not easy projects by any means. It's not something that just you close your eyes, you wake up, and it's done. It takes a village, really does, from us as a company and renovators, and as the client. And so as long as everybody's working together and the communication is there, usually it ends up everybody happy.
Yeah. And I get, you know, like, every kitchen is different. Every home is different. You know, even if you have, you know, modular homes that are sort of the same, it's like the kitchen is still different. Yeah. So I could only imagine, you know, I don't know what everybody's experience is like, but I know for my kitchen, it took, I think, like 6 or 7 months or something, you know, from start to finish. Yeah. It took quite a while, and it takes a lot of patience, a lot of communication, for sure. A lot of decisions, like decision fatigue, and like looking at different colors and materials and appliances and measurement. It's definitely a lot. It's definitely a lot. Yeah. So, you know, I think people clearly want to work with somebody that is educated on it and like really can do a good job, but they probably don't even know where to begin or what to like look for. So do you have questions that almost, you know, everybody you speak to, like, that's kind of the question they ask, or that they're wondering, you know, what are some of the conversations like when you speak with somebody who is first considering like a kitchen renovation?
Budget is usually what comes up first, or how much somebody wants to spend.
People are pretty stingy with budget. I mean, in terms of giving you that information. Yeah. So I think we've tried to rewire that language of like budget expectations. Yeah. What are you hoping to spend? Because our model does allow us, we can tailor it, right? Like, we have entry level cabinets, still put $500,000-$600,000 homes on up to fully custom. So yeah, I mean, budget is where we like to start, because it does make things easier. But typically, you know, because he's more of the front of the designing with the clients and things like that. So it's usually, you know, whose kitchen is this? Sure. What's the purpose? Where is the? It's kind of like the who, what, when, where, why kind of thing. Yeah. And so, you know, we have that tailored to us and what we look for, but it's pretty brief. It's within 5 or 6 questions, we can kind of get into the meat of the appointment. We can really start talking about selections and this and that, what you're looking for. So we try not to get bogged down too much in the questionnaire phase. So yeah.
We do keep everything, like we pay attention to everything in a sense of Like if you plan on staying there for maybe another 3 or 4 years, well, we're not going to design it like it's your forever home, right? But we will, get you a very functional and very aesthetically pleasing design as well. That's going to make you happy for the next 4 years. And then also when you go to sell, you're not going to have any issue because you're going to have a beautiful kitchen that looks like it was done just yesterday. So,
and we still do the forever homes too. I mean, I think, and so that's also goes back into the reason we did this. Like, we don't want to be a one size fits all. We want to be able to, people come into us, here's our expectations, here's the standards we've set for ourselves. All of our cabinets are all wood. They're soft closed doors and drawers. Those things speak to quality. You don't have to upgrade to that. And then, it really is, we're the experts, and we mean that respectfully. Like, you tell us what you want, and I'll tell you what line that you need to be in. You tell me a specific color, he's going to guide you to the right line of cabinets. So it really is, collaboration is really something that comes up of like, let's collaborate with the client. Let's really, it's not one size fits all.
Yeah. I think it's, you tell us where you want to go, we'll tell you how to get there. Like it's collaborative effort every time.
And it is a shame that people are so like uncomfortable around the topic of money sometimes, because I think especially when you're thinking about your home and like the form and function of your home, it's almost like this exception where you kind of do have to be like, just be transparent about what you have to spend, because that is going to help them get the best result. Yeah. Whereas if you don't just say, look, this is what I'm comfortable with, this is what I'm not comfortable with, and you try to tiptoe around that and try to, the consumer is the one that tries to like manipulate the game a little bit. The opposite happens. They can't get the most for their dollar, right? So can you maybe talk about why it's important that somebody really comes into a project like this with like a strong budget, or even just like a transparent budget?
I think transparency is probably the most important thing. And that's because we can work with any of those budgets. We can save so much time with transparency. Because we have nothing to hide. Like we're very straightforward and open about the entire process. So, if somebody is transparent off the bat, then we're able to tailor everything and get everything done probably faster than if we're just dancing around the $1 million question.
Yeah. I think it's, it's one of those things where the client thinks, so if I give them a $50,000 budget, they're going to spend $50,000.
Right, they're going to max us out.
If you tell me 50, I'm probably going to come in at 38 or 40. Like we are not people that ring the ticket up.
We actually want to beat budgets, by the way, guys. Like
that's our goal. Is we want to service people properly, and in doing that, transparency. He nailed it. If you're transparent, we can service you direct to the point. And you're able, and then what that avoids fatigue, right? But I mean, you get these clients where you just go round and round and round on a design and price and this and that, and ultimately it spoils the experience for them.
Yeah, well, it's like that age-old adage of like under promise, over deliver, and it almost applies to budget too. It's like, if you give too small of a budget, or not even too small of a budget, but if you shoot under what the truth is, it only makes the job harder. Whereas if it's like, okay, this is the top of my budget, it gives you the room to say, okay, well, what are the best things we can fit underneath that budget? Really, I would imagine that's how it works, right?
Yeah, because it's also identifying like what are your wants and needs as we're doing this, as we're planning this. What exactly is it that you need, and versus what is it that you just kind of want, and we can go from there and figure out what's going to work for the budget and what isn't. And I think at that point it's.
And shout out to Caleb. He works really hard on that. Like him and I've gone, butted heads on like, you're doing too much. You're like, tell the client what it is, move on. That's not his approach. And that's why we work well together. Cause there's been times I'm like, man, you've done this design 11 times. Like, please move on. And he's like, tweaking it, and it's an 1/8 of an inch and this and that.
Gotta be perfect.
But inherently, and then I tell him, I'm like, that's what we have to distill. That is the point of this. And so, yeah, like just shout out to him because he does work really hard to get the client what they want in the budget, that specific accessory. Whereas I'm not necessarily wired that way. You know, I have my strong suits, you know, but so it's just one of those things where people really do get the most out of him during the design process, respectfully.
Yeah, I think it's not super accurate, but like, I mean, we've been told a kind of like a good cop, bad cop kind of dynamic in a sense of more so when it comes to design, but
I'm the bad cop.
He's the bad cop. Yeah.
Yeah. Every great team's got to have one.
right.
Yeah. No, you guys make a great duo. You know, an experience I had when I say designing, when I was figuring out my kitchen. And one of the things I learned along the way that was kind of like an eye-opening moment for me as the person that owned the property and thinking like, oh, this is what I want. And one thing that helped me realize that like I'm not the expert was I had this idea of how I wanted my kitchen laid out. And I'm like, oh, I think the fridge should go over here. And I think this should go over here. And, you know, when I spoke to the engineer/designer person, he's like, look, that's not going to work. And I'm like, what do you mean? It works perfectly.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, it doesn't. And he was like, well, let me teach you this. And so we sat down, and of course the kitchen was totally empty at that point. And he kind of taught me this idea of like the triangle. Yeah. And you know, it's such a simple thing, but it's just such a great example of how when you work with somebody that's got experience and they can point you in the right direction and teach you the fundamentals and say, look, as long as you get the basic things right, then we can bring in all the other, you know, advanced, you know, whatever, right? But it's like the foundation and the basics have to be right. So could you maybe talk a little bit about your approach? You know, there's this debate of like form over function or function over form. Do you have an opinion on that or any thoughts around that? Like when people are trying to figure out the layout of their kitchen, how do you approach that?
So, like for example, when I'm designing, let's say we're going into a design and the client hasn't really given me much, so I'm left with the dimensions of the space, and then maybe like a color. They've given me a color for inspiration. My rule of thumb is always going to be going for functionality first, because I know I can get the aesthetics. I know I can get a beautiful kitchen out of a functional kitchen. And then I kind of tweak it from there. So after I get the basics down, then I start to get a feel more of what the client, because sometimes they have to see something first before they're able to contribute to that conversation. So like a basic design, 3D renderings, it really lights somebody up, and now they start flowing. Which I think is kind of where the transparency comes into play, because we could spin tires. We could design all day, honestly. But it's definitely a functionality first, and then go from there, because that's what's most important, really. Yeah. I mean, nobody's wants to be in a kitchen that, I mean, sure, it looks good, but when you're waking up every day and you have to walk around your island to get your refrigerator and then walk back around to get it's a whole thing. But yeah, that triangle is important for functionality, and also you don't really realize it when you're looking at a design screen, but when you're actually in the space, it is kind of important to. It's not kind of. It is very important to listen to the professionals.
I'm sure we've all been in an Airbnb where, like, you know, you open the fridge, but it like hits the cabinet, or like you open a dishwasher and you can't open it all the way, or
the
something.
Amount of kitchens where you go to open a drawer and it hits the refrigerator and doesn't open all the way.
Yeah.
It's hard to go into other people's kitchens, but
I had that problem for a while.
I'm sure.
But yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about your showroom. I know that's been a big project that you guys have been building towards for a while now. So what role does the showroom play in the client experience?
Yeah. So we're currently in the middle of refreshing the showroom. So sort of the initial iteration was, let's show full kitchens, right? Like, let's show what a full kitchen looks like in your space. And then over time of sending this client to look at a countertop at our partner, you know, that's a 20-minute drive from our showroom. You got to send them to look at flooring here. And that sparked this, like, we need to become a one-stop shop. So when a client, you know, because we ask time, right? There is time in planning. But when you come into our showroom, we respect your time, and it is it's in a transition, but the end goal is you'll be able to pick everything from our space. And the nice thing about that is we have exclusive pricing. So the items in our store, like, they're a part of our program, our JRK program. So you're not going to be able to touch our cabinet pricing, our floor pricing, any of that type of thing. And inherently that makes the experience better for the client. You can walk out in 2 hours with a full design, a quote that you have transparency on. We've gone over it line by line with you. You've made your selections. You're walking out with samples. It really is a one-stop shop. Now, we still have the ability for you to go pick the custom exotic countertop and all that type of stuff, but the goal is to keep people in our store, have them call us, visit us, right? It's essentially our third employee at this point. And, it's been fun to work on it because, you think you have all these great ideas in the beginning, and then 3 years later, it's like, all right, it's time to evolve and change. So I'm excited about what the showroom is going to look like because it really is, it's going to be our salesperson.
Yeah, I think especially for a client, that's like the most fun part, right? Like you get to go pick out all your stuff and like it starts to, the vision comes alive and you get an idea of like what things are going to look like and what it could look like. And it, of course, it's difficult too because you got to make those decisions, pick between hardware and pulls and drawer, all that type of stuff. When you think about fixtures and hardware and stuff, are there any times like during projects or are there any particular things that you love to do? Like of course you love the cabinets in general, right? But I think about like, are there particular appliances or things that like people don't decide all that often where you're like, oh, I hope we get to do that this time? Like, is there anything that stands out to you?
For me is inserts. I think going through our insert catalog, so like the cabinet accessories, rollouts, and all that fun stuff.
And what is an insert? Like, what is that?
So just a few examples. Like if you have a skinny cabinet, it doesn't really have much purpose. It's just a door. You could probably fit some baking sheets in there. They have a bunch of inserts that you can substitute out instead for like spices or just other organization, maybe for said sheet pans, baking pans. And then like pull out waste baskets. And if it's a standard size cabinet, they have just about anything that you can think of when it comes to kitchen accessibility or functionality. Like there's,
and another shout out, he'll put them in the design.
I will put them in the design.
And I don't like, and this is goes back to strengths, weaknesses type of thing. Like I have to remind myself, like, put this in the design program. But he mainly handles all the designs now anyway. But yeah, he'll give you a visual representation of the waste basket, the rollout tray, the pots and pans insert, which once again separates us because a lot of people, you have to use your imagination on that. Yeah. And he'll take the time to 3D render it. And so
it is important for me or to me that any client that I kind of design with, that I want them to understand the space that we're looking at. So I do everything I can, with the technology I have available to make sure that happens. And I think it makes a difference. I really do.
I definitely think it does too. Because I mean, when you think about a kitchen, you want it to be like awesome. You want it to be fun. And I think adding those extra things, the little gadgets and like just all the cool stuff, it does. It brings it to life so that somebody can like imagine that in their space and say, oh, I want that, And
it's no longer cookie cutter at that point. I think a lot of the let's call it what it is, like flip homes and rental homes, they're going to be as basic as possible, because budgetary reasons. But once you start customizing and putting your own spin on your kitchen, then it becomes unique. It becomes your own.
I think like one of my favorite, like you guys are two of my favorite people. I think like one of my favorite things about you guys is like how much you actually care about not just the work you do, but of course the clients. But let's talk about like the both of you for a minute, which is you started your journey as, working in like a big box store or manufacturer, cabinet, whatever. How has your roles that you used to be in, like how has that evolved and changed now that you run your own company, right? Because now like you're the chief accountant, you're the chief hiring manager, like you're everything, right? So how have you adapted and evolved into that role? Like what are some of the standout kind of like difficulties or challenge or moments that come to mind?
Man, this is
there are a lot.
I think it's been interesting. The things that like I can speak for me that made me strong in the big box store, I can't necessarily translate to a business partner, right? Like accountability, it really has taught me like I have to hold myself accountable, and then inherently he holds himself accountable. And that's what we're working on right now is we're owners, right? I'm not your boss. You're not my boss. We have a dynamic that we came up with that doesn't exist anymore, right? I can't tell you to not be late. I can't. That's on you, right? And that's where I think we are in right now of like, no, we can hold each other accountable, right? Is it the same as it was 9 years ago, 5 years ago, 3 years ago? No. So that's been a tough transition of like, I'm regimented, I'm this, I'm that. And then you get into the business owner role and it's like, I'm not playing in this size fence. I have no fence. I can show up when I want, how I want, when I can go to lunch when I want, I can design if I want. You like, really, there is no one there anymore to police you, quote unquote. So that's been for me of like that internal drive, that internal accountability of like, this is what I have to do to move the business forward. And then he has his own responsibilities. And we've worked really hard. And I'd say the last 6 months to like get back to that. Like, what does accountability look like at JRK? And I'm excited. You know, that's a big thing of like, I think we've navigated the tough waters and, you know, the ebb and flow of life. And we're here now. And it really is. We're going to be accountable to each other. We're going to be accountable to our clients. And so I would say that's been the toughest thing of just losing that structure, and you have to create all of the structure.
Yeah. I think like one of the biggest adjustments for us wasn't just going or showing up to work, clocking in, doing your tasks for the day, clocking out, and then forgetting about it when you get home. Like this is a 24/7 thing. And sometimes that's great. And other times, it's a little much. So it is a balance. I'm still very happy with what I do. Just changed a little bit over the years, and that's just because of responsibilities and roles have changed, but I still very so much love this industry and wouldn't leave it, honestly.
And I think we really are like getting back to our roots of like, hey, Caleb, this is what I'm strong at. This is what you're strong at. Like, let's set the egos aside. Let's just come in every day, and I'll be the manager. I have no problem. I'll clean the showroom, right? Like it's that type of thing of like, man, I used to give 80, 90 hours. I mean, we used to work a lot for somebody else. And it's like, if we can't do that for ourselves, if we can't have that same level of pride, then we're really missing the mark. And so it's a mindset change. It's never been what was us, right? Like we wanted to do this, we asked for this, but it's been heavy, right? Like relationships have been lost, you lose clients, like, but at the end of it, it's been forged, like our foundation is strong. And so excitement is like really the common theme right now of like, we're kind of stripping away all the bullshit. We're getting back to what I'm good at, what you're good at. And then inherently, what does that mean? It trickles down to the client.
Yeah, I think it resonates more than you know. If it was easy, everybody would do it.
That's right.
And like partnership dynamics are hard. Running a business is hard. If it was easy, everybody would do it.
Right.
So let's talk about something fun or /funny. I'm curious to know, and not even within, the realm of your own clients, but just in the world of like kitchen renovations in general. Like if I say like disaster stories or like horror stories or just like ridiculousness, like do you have any particular, stories or projects or something that come to mind? Like, and again, whether, not just yours, but just even maybe like your old job or maybe partners that you come across, like anything stand out?
I would say, fortunately for us, we haven't necessarily had any disaster projects, right? The biggest thing you see is people cutting corners on price. So I'm going to get somebody else to do it. And then to go back and undo and redo what somebody else did, it's expensive.
Yeah.
It never is going to turn out the same. I mean, and then inherently what ends up happening is your name ends up being on it. And so part of our business was to eliminate those pinch points to avoid those type of disasters. But yeah, I mean, we've seen it. I mean, electrical run wrong. I mean, I had a client who had an addition on their house who had a pipe that wasn't connected to anything. The only reason it didn't ruin their house is nobody used that bathroom. It was a half bath. like on the other side of the house, but their pipe, their drain, toilet, whatever, wasn't connected under the sink. Like, how crazy is that?
That's
like,
wild.
You know, so then they that avoided a disaster that nobody used that bathroom. So I'd say that's kind of what we see. You know, I think he's probably had a few.
Yeah, I mean, besides, you know, like just very questionable work, which you don't know when was done. Could have been 5 years ago, 10 years ago. But in this day and age of internet and YouTube videos, it's a lot of DIYs that go wrong. And that is a lot of what we deal with is, you know, we'll supply the product and we'll encourage professional installation. You get, of course, the DIY attitude, which is great because if you do it right, then you can certainly save a lot of money. But you have to do it right, and if you don't do it right, it's going to cost you even more to correct. So that's probably the majority of it is just seeing some really questionable installs.
Yeah. So nobody falling through the roof or like finding like, you know, murder weapons under the floor. Or
we haven't had anybody fall on a job site. We
That's
haven't
good.
had, I think one of our installers cut the tip of his thumb off one time.
Yeah.
That was probably the worst like injury we've had. We've been pretty fortunate.
And he's got 9 other fingers.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
He'll be
Exactly.
fine.
He's good.
But
Pinky,
yeah, I don't think, I don't think we haven't had any hit the water line and it floods type of thing.
Yeah, thank goodness. Is this wood?
And if we did, we wouldn't,
Yeah.
we wouldn't say it on. No, I'm just kidding. No.
No, I love it. So I ask it because like you guys, and we've had many conversations just about integrity and care and craftsmanship and community and even like accessibility, right? So like how do those things kind of show up in your day to day?
So it was a really big shift for us because again, coming from where our previous employer, we were kind of taught the opposite of it, or at least towards the end, was to not kind of put focus on those things. But that was what we wanted to be, or what we wanted to make us different, was being accessible, being transparent. But also just giving our clients the attention to detail that they deserve. And I don't think you really learn that until you're told to do the opposite and you see how it can negatively affect just everything, all of the entire process. So,
yeah, I mean, our clients, like, they get our cell phone numbers, right? Like, when they purchase from us. So that accessibility, if we tell you we're going to email you, we email you. If we tell you we're follow up with you, we're going to follow up with you. Even if I don't have an update for you other than I'm working on it. And so, yeah, I think it's one of those things where we just we don't really balk from the responsibility. Are there times where it takes us a little longer to reply to an email? There are times that takes us longer to take care of this open door that needs to be, sure. Right. But inherently it always gets done. And that's something we're aimed in expediting, avoiding. We want to continue to eliminate these pinch points. And that's with us having our expanded showroom hours and all that. We'll have more time in front of a computer to do that type of thing. So,
yeah, I think, when I think about things like accessibility and communication and avoiding pinch points, you guys are very systems and processes oriented, which I think is really good. I'm friends with contractors. I've worked with a ton of contractors, and it's that's the Antichrist for them. It's like communication is always a difficult thing. And it's always emails are lost in some random Gmail account somewhere.
Right.
They don't know their passwords. And, there's no process, there's no system, there's no order to it. Mm-hmm. And I've always been a fan of you guys and the fact that you're so focused on that and making sure that your communication is on point and you have checklists and quality checklists, and that, your, not only does it make things more efficient, but it truly is done because of the client and making sure that they have a better experience. So I've always thought that that's probably the thing that stands out most and that allows you to do great work, I would imagine, right?
It's been a little bit swimming upstream is what we learned. It's almost, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel, but you would think there would already be systems in place for and there's not.
Yeah.
Like, I think I heard somebody describe renovation the other day as like by the seat of your pants and with like bubble gum and paper clips. And it's like, no, there are jobs you put hours and hours and hours and hours, and you're like, you get here and you're like, this is just how it, your plumber doesn't give you 2 weeks notice. He doesn't. He's going to give you, I can be there in 12 hours. And you're like, okay. And, so that's what, like I said, our goal in being more present at the showroom versus in the field is to continue to create those, policies, procedures.
I mean, the more we talk about this, the more it really dawns on you, like how much it is and how difficult it is. It's such a unique like industry. And surely it applies to other industries out there as well. But I do think specifically for the work that you guys do, in many ways, you have to wear many hats. You got to show up every day. You really got to pay attention to detail. And it takes particular type of people to be able to do that. Yeah. So when you think about like your new space, how your showroom is evolving and just what's coming in the future, like what are you most excited about? How about the showroom in particular, right? Like, because you're kind of decking it out and changing things. Like, what are you most excited about for the showroom?
Personally, I think at least for the showroom, what we plan on doing with U.S. Cabinet Depot. So U.S. Cabinet Depot, that's going to be kind of like our, I guess you could call it our entry line. That's kind of where we would start with somebody, but it has so much flexibility and so many options that you really can. It can look like it's in $1 million home. And I think that's kind of what we're aiming to show with that line is, when I tell you this is our bronze line, you're not going to believe me, but it is. Yeah. And I'm excited for that part.
Yeah. And that line specifically is going to be the only line that we have like an actual full kitchen display of. And it's because we want to show people like, look what we can do with the basics. Like, we have the 48-inch tall cabinets with glass. We can, you can modify the depth of a cabinet. You can do all this thing with this line that, people would initially look at me like, it don't have this one thing I'm looking for. But, with the catalog that's offered, his creativity, there's really not many kitchens that we can't accomplish in that line.
Yeah. And it takes us back to the conversation of like, if you get the fundamentals right, like everything is much better, so especially if you can find a manufacturer or a partner that like gets the basics right, like everything's going to be, a million times better.
I think also a special shout out to Chino. That's the shop dog. We're going to be building a kind of like just like a crate for him out of some cabinetry in the design center. So
be on the lookout for that. We might sell them.
Try to push those a bit, but it's going to be fun. I'm excited for that.
That's awesome. So you've had quite the journey so far, obviously a lot, to come in the future. When you think about the shifts that you're currently making, like what are you hopeful for? What are you excited about, aside from the showroom? Like when you just think about what JRK is evolving into, like what are you most looking forward to?
The potential growth, I think for me, and it doesn't have to be scaled at this large. But just simple growth from where we are now to with our new model, how simple it really could be, and involving people that have we've been partnering with, and just kind of seeing everybody grow. I think is what I would like to see most. But
I think I'm excited for opportunity. Like I'm always looking to grow and evolve, and I think we're positioning ourselves to be a household name in Richmond, and we're pretty funny, right? But our like brand doesn't necessarily represent that. Like we're very like buttoned up tight, and so we have ideas where we have some inspirations, and you'll be our guy that we collaborate with. But I think I'm excited to like kind of show our real personalities of like who we are, and let that shine through the brand. Because inherently when the brand is built on respect and communication and all that, it doesn't matter how it's packaged, the message is still the same. So I think for us, like, I think we're going to enjoy it more. Like, I think we're going to get back to enjoying, because we used to go on a Saturday and sell $70,000 in cabinets. Like we could do it with our eyes closed.
Yeah.
And so I think we're looking forward to that. Just like the energy around the business. We want to have a food truck and have people like really come and like, look, yeah, you can renovate your kitchen, but you can have fun too along the way.
Yeah.
And so there are clients that we have or currently working with where you can see that relationship. You can see the like, come over and, join this family gathering in the space that you help design. And so I think I'm excited about that. Just opportunities to continue to strengthen our relationships, with our clients.
Yeah, I love it because at the end of the day, like you can build a great brand, you build a great business, but like people work with people.
Yeah.
Right. And yeah, I think as I watch you guys, evolve and change and grow, definitely there's more of that, which is great, and the more that you build your systems, build everything out, like it shows for sure.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah. 100%. So if you could go back and give yourselves advice in like your first year of business, like what would you say to yourselves?
I mean, that'd probably be a long conversation.
Yeah.
It probably wouldn't be a word of advice, but I think it would be enjoy it. Like I feel like I'm about to get emotional. I'll get it together, but it's hard to get like caught up in life. It's hard to get caught up in all the bullshit that's going around. But ultimately, I'm gonna be 35 this year. 30-year-old me would be super jealous. Like, you know what I mean? Like 28-year-old me be like, dude, who are you? Like you did this type of thing. So that'd be the advice I give myself. Just lighten up. Don't be so hard on yourself. And I mean, I'm giving myself that advice now, like it's something that I struggle with. And, you can stick the landing 90% of the time, but all I focus on is the 10%. And that drags you down, that wears you down mentally. So like I said, I'm excited. I would give myself that advice of like, just enjoy it. It's way more good. It's way more positive than it is negative or challenging. So that's advice I would give myself.
Well put. Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, I think for me, just don't take things too personal. I think this is a very stressful process. No matter how you look at it, everything could be going perfectly. It's still gonna stress you out. I think a lot of people, get carried away with emotions and like just forget that we are all humans at the end of the day, working a job, trying to provide the best, and just trying not to take things personal. I think when stuff gets to that point, but
yeah, it's tough
when you take things personally. Like when you're predisposition to take it personal. It gets even harder.
It gets harder
for sure.
Because ultimately we're our own biggest critic, right? Like nobody's come to us and been like, "Hey guys, like this is what you need to do." It's all internal driven. It's all like, Caleb, we can't keep running this way. And so I think there's, in stress, in struggle, what comes from that can be negative. But for us, we are choosing to make it positive. We are going to grow from this. So like, yeah, I mean, we're pretty determined. Like we pretty hard-headed sometimes. And I think that aids in a situation where you're running the show, being the business owner, measuring and all that. So
it definitely does, and the same pressure that can be uncomfortable and be sort of an inconvenience is the same thing that makes you great though,
Mm-hmm.
And so I applaud you guys. You've done an amazing job over the past several years.
I appreciate that.
So anybody that's listening to this that is thinking, okay, I need somebody that I can trust, that I can work with, that I can do a good job. What is their first step in working with you? Where should they get in touch? Where can they find you?
Yeah, so it really is call us or visit us. If you want to call us, 804-596-3096.
You can check out the beautiful website that was made for us.
Mike, he a logo, website, so James or jrkitchens.com.
Yeah.
No, James River.
We own so many. We
have a few different.
JamesRiverKitchens.com, and then our showroom's on Broad Street, across from Mekong. But really, it is call us, visit us. We just want the FaceTime, and it's not to waste your time. Like, let's get you in. Let's get an appointment scheduled. What does this look like? We're not going to spin your tires and stuff. It's like if you call us, you have direct access. You can we'll schedule an appointment for you. Come visit the showroom, albeit a work in progress. It still is a very nice showroom.
And if you don't want to call us, we can call you. We have a very handy contact form on our website as well. So.
Yeah. So that's jamesriverkitchens.com.
That's right.
And then the phone number is 804-596-3096.
That's it.
Love it. Yeah. And as your friends, I can definitely say, like, encourage people to just reach out, just talk to you guys.
Yeah.
It's like explore the options and see what's up, and if hopefully this has shed some light on the ability to have an open, honest conversation with somebody who's going to work in and on your property that you can communicate with clearly and get a great result out of it. So I appreciate you guys coming in today.
No, thank you for having us.
This is awesome, man.
I'm excited. And shout out to the space. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
awesome, man. Well,
if you have marketing needs,
exactly. I love it, man. Well, I appreciate you guys and thanks for coming on.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks.